Good evening. It's Monday, January 10th, and I will call this meeting to order. If you would all please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, we will have our mission statement read tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, the Pledge of Allegiance first. Jumping ahead, sorry. And now, if Janelle, being a newcomer, would you mind meeting the mission statement for us tonight?
The Waterloo Schools community commits to a comprehensive system of education and support to assure that each and every student will graduate prepared for college, career, and citizenship, as evidenced by continuing education, pursuing a career path, and contributing to a community.
Thank you very much for that short notice. And I just wanted to make mention that tonight we do have a change to our agenda. We are going to pull item K on the agenda, which is adoption of COVID-19 testing and vaccination policy. And it's on page 52 of our board packets. And I'm going to defer this to Kingsley Botchway to discuss a little bit about this.
Yeah, I think, for the board's knowledge and the public's knowledge as well, we've, as you know, have been receiving a lot of communication over the last couple of weeks, especially this weekend in regards to, this testing and vaccination policy. On Friday night, the Iowa OSHA, or Iowa Division of Labor, the DOL, came through and said that they believe that their plan is effective, or as effective as the federal plan, and by the federal guidance at this time that is okay from that perspective. And so with that, we will be removing our policy until a later time, that if and when the guidance changes. And I hate to say that, but it's changed at least 3 times in the last month. And so, and also on the backdrop of this, there's also the Supreme Court that are deliberating. They started order arguments on Friday. They could yet have some type of guidance that comes down that either changes or reaffirms the information that I'm sharing with you tonight.
So Kingsley, just to, because one of the things you said, removing the policy, we're not really.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. I just want, because people will, that we're just pausing.
Yeah, we're just pressing pause. I think, for our staff that are out there, we shared this information, I believe, on Saturday in regards to moving forward with this policy, because it was in the board agenda packet on Friday. And so, yeah, we're just pressing pause. Again, we have it. We're ready to go. There may be some things that we still do just to get ourselves prepared in the event that it does change back. But again, we'll send that information out here shortly in the next couple of days.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from board members about that? Okay, thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to item A, Exhibit A, which is a board celebration, and it's a recognition of the West High music students. And I see Akwi on her way up. So we're excited about it. We love board celebrations. So please let us know, and exciting to see students.
It
Thank
is
you.
exciting to see students with us. So we have 2 groups of students from West High. One is the Tri-M Music Honor Society, and they held a drive in December and collected 448 pounds of canned food donations for the Northeast Iowa Food Bank. And then the second group with us is a group selected for an honor choir hosted by Wartburg College later this month, and they are with West High music instructor Luke Overton. So I'll have them share a little bit about their experiences.
Yeah, I think they just voted me to go first. Super happy to bring these kids down. We oftentimes get to see how awesome the things are that they do and the experiences that they have, because this is our 5-day a week, every single day opportunity to see this, but we don't often get to bring them out and into new areas like this. So we wanted to take a moment to come down. I think all 4 members behind me are all members of our Tri-M Honor Society, and that is new. We kind of started it up right as COVID took off 3 years ago. So we've not really had a normal year yet to kind of get established. But it's an honor society for music students across the nation. It's a nationwide thing that started in Illinois. And our chapter has members of the orchestra, the band, the choir. They all have to maintain a pretty high GPA average and be involved in community service. And our big project for this semester was organizing a canned food collection / caroling event. So we designed door tags and went out and hung them in the neighborhoods, and then came back about a week later and caroled and collected food and brought in, I think the official scale was 448 pounds when we rolled that on. And then 2 of the members here, Addison and Evelyn, are also going to be attending an honor choir up at Wartburg College in a couple of weeks. They were selected. We can nominate up to 8 students out of our ensembles, and they can accept between 0 and 8 of them, and we had 7 out of 8 accepted this year. So pretty tremendous. We've got the double whammy of some of our members are out sick, and it's also finals week at West, so we were not able to get the whole group. There's about a 50-50 split between who's homesick and who is studying feverishly for finals on Wednesday and Thursday. So I'll let, if you've got any questions for them or would like to hear anything more, I'll turn this over to them.
Yeah, we'd like each of you to come up and tell us who you are and maybe your grade in school, and what's your favorite part of music at West High?
I'll go first. Miss Ewing. So I'm Gabrielle. I'm a junior at West, and I have to say my favorite part of Tri-M Honor Society was meeting other people that aren't normally in my ensemble. So I'm in band, and there's a lot of people in Tri-M that are in orchestra and choir that I do not get to see every day. So it's fun to collage with them, and when we do solo ensembles, sometimes it's fun to meet those new people, so then we can do different ensembles with orchestra and choir and kind of collab all the music stuff together at West.
Hi, I'm Addison. I'm a junior at West, and I'm in choir and then Tri-M and everything. So I think I really like how we can all just get together like after school about once a month. And sometimes, I mean, when we have the events like the caroling and the can drive, and sometimes we'll do national anthems and stuff, it's just a chance for us to all hang out together, and it's pretty laid back, but like we're all doing it because we all share our passion of music, and I just enjoy being with people who share passions with me.
I'm Michael Dunn. I'm a junior. I enjoy Tri-M a lot because we are just meeting with all of these people that like music. I'm in orchestra, and I think I'm just one of the only ones in orchestra, so it's nice to see all of these other people that are in the different parts of the West music.
Great.
Hi, Michael.
I'm Evelyn. I'm a junior at West, and I like it because I enjoy spending time with other people who enjoy the same things as me.
Super. Sounds like it's a wonderful organization, and glad you're all part of it too. And you're all juniors, right? So we all get you back next year too, right? Anybody have any other questions, comments?
Just a quick question. How many did you say were in the Tri?
So we've got a membership of 17 and an executive board of 5.
Nice,
So
okay.
we have 22 overall.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So like last year, my daughter was in, she called it part of like the music NHS, but is that what she was talking
Yep,
about? Was that?
absolutely. Yeah, it's very similar in its organization.
And then you did manage to rope in my sophomore to do caroling too, so you must have swept in some extra people.
I mean,
No, that's
we
great.
never turn away any
that's
volunteers,
great.
willing or otherwise, so,
To have a band kid want to sing, I'm all for that.
yeah, absolutely.
All good? Well, thank you guys very much for coming.
I got one.
Oh, wait.
So how many of you how many of you are looking at music majors? One? Okay. Are any of us going to continue music after high school? Maybe? Yeah?
Ensemble-wise, yes, but not a music major or minor.
Good opportunity still there. My daughter had an opportunity this year to do she's not a music major, but she stayed in and been able to, she actually got a trip to Orlando out of it, so, for spring break or New Year's, so. A lot of opportunities for even if you want to go in some other area to still stay involved with your passion in music, so.
Yeah, my son, he's a senior at ISU, an MIS major, but he's been in the concert band there all 4 years, and it's like all the nerdiest of the nerdy kids who aren't music. So, Michael, you do great. So, yeah, go for it.
Okay, are we good? All right, well, thank you again, all of you, for coming, and hopefully we'll see you next year, because you could break that goal of 448 pounds.
We're gonna
We're
try.
like 500 pounds.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
and thanks for representing your school well. We'll let them head out, and the next item on our agenda is information from individuals and delegations. This is an opportunity where those who wish to address the school board may do so. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Mrs. Arndorfer, to my left, will hold up a yellow card when you have 30 seconds remaining and a red card when your time has expired. At that time, I will ask you to please conclude your public remarks. Also, keep your comments respectful and constructive. We are all here with the goal of trying to help our students. Please avoid criticizing the job performance of specific employees of the district. Personnel matters are confidential and must be handled through the proper channels and not in a public forum like this. Finally, we provide this as an opportunity for public comments, but it is generally not a back and forth discussion, especially on items that are not on our agenda. At times, we will try to help you if staff is here, and we will provide information before or after the meeting, but we have to proceed with our board meeting agenda items. With that, I invite anyone who wishes to address the board to please come forward and start by stating your name and your home address.
Good evening. My name is Amber McGivern, and I'm a Waterloo resident. I currently work as a special needs para. I've been attending board meetings on a regular basis for several years. When the personnel appointments and adjustment discussion comes up, it seems the same questions are routinely asked, such as how are we looking? In December of the last 3 years, there were 0, 2, and 9 resignations, and 9 more this month, which isn't a good trend. If you look at the job openings currently, there are approximately 40 open support staff jobs. The biggest question should be why, and what can we do to not only fill those positions, but retain the staff we have. The job of educational support staff has greatly changed over the years. When most of us were in school, there may be a few teacher aides within the building, with their main duties to be lunch duty, recess, crosswalk, or clerical. It was not common to see them in classroom for extended parts of the day. If you walk into any Waterloo school building today, you will not only see support staff doing those things, but you'll see them dealing with behaviors, teaching small groups or individual students, being a trusted adult for students in a time of crisis, and a multitude of other responsibilities. For some, subbing as a classroom teacher due to the shortage of staff from COVID and sub shortages have been added into daily routines. Currently, the district pays $130 when a para subs in that position. They are given the difference between their daily wage and the sub pay. In my case, that was $25 for an entire day of subbing or $12 for a half day. Support staff who sub are often doing the job of 2 people because there isn't a para working in the classroom due to support staff shortages, and they're doing it without being properly compensated. Longtime support staff are seeing and dealing with an increase in challenging behaviors daily. This may include verbal or physical aggression, yet we continue to show up year after year to do the work we love. We are the ones dealing with behaviors so that a teacher can continue to teach with minimal distractions. With growing class sizes, we are the support teachers need to make sure no one falls through the cracks. Many of us have been kicked, punched, bit, or called a variety of colorful names, yet we come back day after day, year after year. For some students, we are the most dependable and consistent adult in their lives. We're not just helpers, and yes, I have been referred to as such. We are teachers. Some, such as myself, even hold a 4-year teaching degree. The educational support staff put everything we have into supporting our students, and it isn't just limited to academics. Could the majority of us find a job in the Cedar Valley that starts at a comparable or higher wage, such as Target or Quickstar? Yes, but we choose to work here because we are dedicated to our students. I know I'm running low on time. I have prepared a statement. The rest of my statement I'm going to hand out, and there is a email to each of the board members with a link to a screen Castify to conclude all my statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll pass that out, and we all can check our emails, so.
And thank you for being at all these meetings. I've seen your face every time, so thank you.
And again, as we stated at the beginning, that we won't go back and forth on this, but there will be discussion among staff, appropriate staff members with this and board members. So thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address the board? Okay. Thank you, and seeing none, we will move on to our consent agenda, which consists of 7 items. Item B is minutes of the December 13th, 2021 regular board meeting. Item C, personal appointments and adjustments. Item D, bills due and payable and bills paid between board meetings. Item E, R.J. McElroy Trust Excellence in Education Grants. Item F, Exceptional Persons Inc. Memorandum of Understanding. G, appointment of the School Improvement Advisory Committee. And item H, appointment of a board member to the Blackhawk County Conference Board. Are there any of these items that board members would like removed?
Item F, as in Frank.
E, G, and H, please.
E, G, and H. Okay. Anybody for B, C, or D? C. Okay. Good. All right. So I would ask for approval of the consent agenda items B and D. All in favor? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries 6-7-0. Yep. 6-0, yeah. Okay, and now we will move on to item C. And I think, India, you pulled that. You want to?
I know Amber just addressed this about the personnel, so I was actually just going through it as she was talking. But I know that vaccination is nationwide. We are dealing with a lot of people who are leaving this position right now. So if you could just talk about our district, where we are, with, especially with subs. You know, right now we have a lot of people who are out as far as teachers, and so how are we handling it?
You know, I want to give a lot of credit to not only Amber, but the rest of our staff that have really stepped up in the trying time. I mean, it's not looking good, and as you mentioned, India, you know, I think across the nation, even the state, we're facing these challenges. We've lobbied our legislators. We've talked to the BOE. We've tried to do as much as we can from the state level to have that conversation. I know that they're probably tired of me, and so I won't say anything publicly tonight to make anybody hate me anymore. But I think right now we're dealing with some significant challenges with staffing, and again, it's a lot of it's just on our staff. They've been able to cover. I know that. Even, you know, Stephanie and I have been trying to cover some subbing in situations as well when we have bereavement and other leaves, and trying to make sure that our staff are taken care of in that regard. We are looking at a couple of things, you know, I think I've shared with the board, I believe on Friday, or, you know, with some of the things that we've done as far as trying to do some incentive pay around, you know, referral bonuses, looking at the flexible location day on January 14th, you know, it's not an apples to apples comparison. I think that's what, I've tried to share with our staff as far as when you look at Target, you look at McDonald's and some of the other places, there's some things that we do from a insurance standpoint and benefit standpoint they just don't do. And, I have the pleasure of having somebody, a significant other that I live with, that lives in that works in the nonprofit and private sector, and she knows, she tells me all the time where there's some things that we do give that are different. However, pay is a tough conversation when we're talking about our staff and the work that they put in for our kids. And so with that, Michael and I have had some conversations over the last couple of months to address some of those things. And we will be, I think I said this in the paper, we're looking at a comprehensive incentive package that we will be moving forward with hopefully here shortly. But on top of that, we're also looking at what we can do in longevity as well. And so, I don't have a good answer for you, India. I think what we're trying to say is that we're looking at different things, but I would say to answer each of your questions, we're facing some of the challenges that other districts are facing, especially the larger urban districts. But this isn't a new problem. This is the same problem that we lobbied the state in the beginning of the year about, and unfortunately things haven't changed. And our hope, has been where, and I'll try to stop because I can talk about it all night. Our hope was that COVID would change, and it hasn't. It's gotten worse. Our hope has been that, I think I mentioned to our paraeducators and our WSP staff at a PD in October that this was going to be a bubble and that many of the places that are hiring their employees now will terminate. And I do still believe that's going to happen, but because of the varying environmental changes that are happening at all these different industries, it hasn't happened yet. And so we're looking at not only what we can do in the short term, but what we can do in the long term as well. But right now, our staff are pulling together, and that's a credit to them. They're amazing. And when I see other districts in different states and even in our state have some of the challenges, whether it be in Chicago and other places, our staff have buckled down and continue to show up for our kids. And I mean, that's the best answer I can give you right now.
And I appreciate that. And I just wanted to at least ask the question, acknowledge, because they are doing some great things. I mean, I definitely am watching the news. It does make me nervous, but I'm like, wow, they're doing it. So here in our district, very well. So thank you.
The one thing I'll add, and I'll just stop there, is, and this is just for the public knowledge, and Michael can chime in here as well. Whenever we make decisions, I know that, people may read the newspaper or watch the media and say, why isn't the Waterloo School District doing this and doing that? What we have tried to do, and Michael has done a wonderful job of helping me game plan around that, is looking at it from a longevity approach, looking at it from a sustainable approach. Yeah, we can do a lot of things that will happen tomorrow or even in the next week, but the bell tolls sometime, and then we're having some tough conversations with our staff and at the board table about what that means. I think what you've seen, where in the past maybe other districts have had to let go staff or done some other things. Waterloo Schools has done a wonderful job of kind of keeping things steady and progressing at a slower rate. But we believe, at the rate that we can continue to add staff as necessary and do it at the right time. Not too long ago, a couple of months ago, I was telling you about the fact that we had increased elementary staff because we wanted to lower class sizes. And so that's all happening in the vacuum of what's going on right now. But as we look at different areas that we can provide that support, we know that our paraeducators are feeling it the most from a shorter standpoint. And so we're working as quickly as we can to address those areas, but from a sustainable standpoint, not just from a tomorrow standpoint.
And just, I can remember, so it's about this time that we will be reaching out to those who are about to graduate and fill these spots for the teachers who are resigning or retiring in our district.
Yeah, we did. So, one of the things that happened not too long ago is that we have new teacher institute. We had new teacher institute today and tomorrow. We typically do that more on a kind of a case-by-case basis or throughout the month. But we hired a number of teachers for open positions that we had yet open for the beginning of the year. And so, and again, I think it's such a tough conversation to have like right now, because it's one where, because of our desire to try to expand in lower class sizes, we're having a shortage where there wouldn't have necessarily been one if we hadn't done that. But we believe it's in the best interest of kids, and so we've done that with that thought and feeling, and we're trying our best to do staffing now. Do some of the pieces ahead of time to get some of that information out. Use a little bit more technology around how we're communicating with our folks, and also be clear about our incentives and what we're doing to make sure that people know that this is a place to work. But one of the things I'll just share is about, Dr. Lindemann mentioned when we did the flexible location day with our staff, we want to change culture. And so while we know that pay is an important part of anybody's decision as they think about where they want to work.
Can you explain that to people who may not know what you're talking about, the flexible day?
Yeah, the flexible day is basically a day where we're having our teachers and our paras in particular be able to work from home. You gave them the computers and some of those other things, and it's really a professional day. We believe our staff are amazing professionals, and we're giving them the time to catch up because they're behind, not for anything that they've done other than the work has just been a lot, and they're just getting some time to catch up, be it from home. They can go to, I keep throwing McDonald's out, but they can go to McDonald's, they can go to Burger King, they can go to wherever they want from a location standpoint. They can go to the building, back to the building if they want, because we're trying to change a culture about how we're working and treating our staff, and this is just the beginning. And so my hope is a couple of months from now, you'll ask me that question, and I'm saying, for the people that are here, we've shifted some of those things again under Dr. Lindemann's leadership to try to figure out how we can make the job a little bit more amenable. Some of the things won't change. We know some of our kids have behaviors that, unfortunately, they do kick, bite and punch on a regular basis. But Amber may have mentioned that today, but I know that she's not a person that typically even mentions that, because she goes in and day out to do that work without any type of concern about her safety and her ability, because she believes in what she does. And so that's where we're at. But one of the things that I think is great conversation, but also the implementation of how are we changing the culture for our district, and hopefully coming out of this being a top employer when it comes to meeting the needs of our group. Thanks.
I appreciate that the flex day, I think, is showing, if nothing else, obviously that we care, that they need the break and they need to be able to do it, but also that we trust our staff, that they don't need to be micromanaged. And I think that speaks very loudly as to how great the staff is, that we don't need to see you in your seat and make sure we know what you're doing, because you're going to do what you're supposed to do. I did have one question, especially with classified. I know you do the exit interviews. Are you seeing any theme behavior and pay? Are those the themes you're seeing, or is there anything else?
Nope, that's the themes.
Okay.
Those are the themes. And I would also tell you that we are still a little bit behind on some of the exit survey data that we do with our teachers between the years of service between 4 and 11. That hasn't come back yet, and that's just because we want to make sure we get a really good sample size. And so hopefully we'll be able to share that with you in February.
Thank you, Kingsley. Any other questions? Okay, procedurally, we didn't get that on the table, so could I have a motion to discuss the personnel appointment and adjustments?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Passed 6-0. Motion passed. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, we are going to move on to item E, and that is the motion for the R.J. McElroy Trust. And it is that the Board of Education accepts and acknowledges with gratitude the R.J. McElroy Trust Excellent in Education grants in the amount of $2,555.79 for the 2021-2022 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Nope.
No.
Discussion.
Okay, discussion.
I just wanted to make sure that we pull this to say thank you, that we acknowledge it, that this isn't something we skip over. These are very generous grants, and you can look down and see what they're being used for, and they're all being used for really interesting purposes. And I also appreciate that our teachers are taking the time and the effort to apply for the grants, because, that's, once again, above and beyond what their normal job duty would entail. So thank you to both.
Okay.
I just want to mention too, now that you say that, we do send out a note of thanks as well to, from the board as well to McElroy, or any of those funding places. I mean, procedurally, we do that from the district, but I also do something on behalf of the board too, just so that you guys know
Oh.
that. Yep.
Thank you. We're so used to having Shanley be like, oh, okay, look, you know, when she's
Yeah.
there, but thank you, Pam. I did not know that.
And if we ever wanted a rep come, now that Shanley's not here, we could get somebody from the trust to come too, so, if we would want, so. All right? Yeah, Shanley can come back and accept it, okay? Okay, all in favor of this motion?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Stacy. The next item is the, I guess, exceptional persons, and that is, yeah, memorandum of understanding, sorry. Okay, that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding between the Waterloo Schools and the Exceptional Persons, Inc. as outlined.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, in discussion, Astor, I think you pulled that?
Yep. Got a couple questions. I'll wait till Jeff.
Okay. He's on his way.
You guys have me all confused, switching around your places here.
So, just a couple questions. How many early childhood students will be able to participate per semester? Is it available to all early childhood students? Is there enough room?
Great question. So it depends on how the rotations would work out in regards to shifts. So what we would do is put it out there as an availability for all students that are interested, and then kind of plot out, I guess, what that would look like in regards to covering shifts and times and specifically. So if we have the ability to cover multiple spots with different students being able to pick up weekends and maybe some at night and stuff like that, we could actually have more. We didn't really set a number per se. We just were going to kind of wait and see who was interested and then kind of see where they fall into place where they could actually cover and work and do this experience.
I think you answered half my second question. So, as a schedule goes, what type of time frame would the 100-hour experience? Is it a whole semester? Is it till the 100 hours are complete? What does that look like as far as the schedule from classes to the whole experience?
Great question. So basically, what happens is these students are all part of the early childhood education program at Elk Run. What they would do is they still take their classes during the day, and then they would, then outside of their classroom time, would work or do their 100-hour experience at various times. They would have to have it complete from the beginning of the semester to the end of the semester because they do get work-based learning credit for this. But whether that takes them, some of the students that we have in work-based learning experiences that do these 100-hour experiences, sometimes they get them done in a month and a half. Other times it takes 4 or 5 months, the entire semester to do it. It just kind of depends on how that experience plays out. And actually, if they do get the 100 hours done, we've actually talked with Mary from Child Resource and Referral about the opportunity of actually extending it beyond the 100 hours and making it more of not a permanent type position, but more outside of our work-based learning opportunity and actually extending it with Exceptional Persons, Inc. in regards to actually having them come on as employees.
And how many total early childhood education students do we have, do you know?
We have a little over 40 right now, but what would happen is typically we would wait until after they were done with their second class. There's a 4-course sequence that they would take, and usually, and there are students that absolutely could jump in earlier, but we usually would recommend that they wait till they get through the first 2 courses in this cohort sequence. So that might narrow it down to somewhat like to 20-ish or so.
And it's 1 class per semester?
1 class per semester.
So
But with that said, some students are actually doubling up, getting through. So they might have, if they're at their first block and they have time in their schedule, they may stay for the second block class and try to get through the program as much as possible. Because one part of this is they actually are working towards their CDA, which is a nationally recognized certification where they could, if they get the hours, and actually the hours within this time frame would help accumulate towards that. The first 20 hours of the probationary time would count towards their CDA hours to get that certification.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
What will their pay be when they, with the remaining 80 hours?
So the going rate for pay is $10 an hour.
Fantastic. Glad to see the numbers are good in that program too. 40 students is,
Right.
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, that's a program that started slowly, but
Yeah.
much like many of the programs, has really gained steam. And honestly, I think it's such a great opportunity. And one thing about it too is, and I'll just put this in there too, about half the students in that program are actually probably going to be gone and become early childhood educators in regards to like an elementary teacher. The other half want to make this their career. So it's actually kind of a win-win opportunity.
Yeah.
They are getting the experience, whether they want to pursue the teaching route or if they want to get into the childcare route.
yep. And I think with some of the facility changes stuff coming, we could see that number increase too, just for location availability, so.
Correct. We're very excited about, I mean, I know that, Jane Frost and her class is very excited about the opportunity to be moving to Lowell. Elk Run has been an amazing experience for the students that go out there. But obviously Lowell has a little more modern facilities, more room, and more opportunities for more students that they can work with at that facility.
I see this thing continue to grow, and there's definitely a need in the community for it too, so.
Huge need area.
So Jeff, just to clarify, they're getting credit toward their high school graduation, so they're taking a class, they're getting credit, and they're getting paid to take that class, basically.
Correct, they are.
So I just want to make sure that that distinction is true, because we all take a math class, we take all kinds of classes, but this is a class they're taking for credit, and they get paid at the same time at $10 an hour, so it's
And that's going to become more the norm
Yes.
of multiple programs where we have the work-based learning experience, where they'll take one or two courses within a pathway or a program. We will then line up the work-based learning program, and they will actually earn and learn at the same time, or learn and earn at the same time as part of the experience. So really, you get the technical skills from the classroom, you learn the professional skills within the classroom, but then you extend it out with the work-based learning component, which really will help extend really their whole comprehensive experience within that class or program.
I think it's interesting, good. I know that my oldest son has had something similar to that in his junior college program where they go, roughly 8 weeks, then they go into field for 6 weeks as a class, as a paid class, and they come back in and finish their semester. But that little bit of break for him was a good break and a chance to go out and apply what he's learned the first part of the semester, then come back in and what he learned in the field to apply that to the rest of his, and they do that every semester. So that's kind of interesting that at least by their format, but same thing as a junior college program, is college just like this here is a free credit hour class that he's getting paid for, but also getting the hands-on learning experience too, so.
We're actually moving towards with our CNA course where their practicum time, where they're actually like in New Aldea and Western Home and places like that,
Yeah.
they would actually be getting paid during that experience also. So that's kind of that's gonna be the next extension within multiple programs here, is when they have a clinical experience like that it actually becomes a paid experience while they're working towards that certification.
Yeah.
I didn't even get paid in my college internship, so this is pretty cool.
It is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It is.
Right.
Sorry, I wanted to clarify too that they have to be 16, so we're not hiring 14-year-olds or
Correct.
15-year-olds to
Yep,
do
if-
this. So, and then just a question, it says payment of 50% of wages paid to students. So does that mean it's $20 and they're getting 10, or?
Great clarification. So what happens is that in our work-based learning experience now, we actually as a district supplement that 100% through our monies that we've taken in for donations and other such. With this, exceptional persons wanted some skin in the game also. So they're actually going to pay us back half the cost of everything. Actually, I should make sure, I think it's the other way around. I think we actually pay them. I'd have to read the agreement.
They're the fiduciaries.
Yeah, so we're going to pay them half
pay
the
them and we
cost
pay
of that experience there. But really what that's allowing us to do is actually keep more money in our pot that we created for these opportunities and they're going to supplement half that with their income.
You could double a number of experiences.
You really could,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I just want to kind of acknowledge exceptional persons because I would never think they would have a hand in early childhood. So I really think this is a really good collaboration. So thank you for partnering with them and being able to do this.
Mary Jansen from Child Resource and Referral has been amazing in making contacts with area businesses that really want to give our students these opportunities for work-based learning opportunities. And they were the first one that wanted to sign on. I could absolutely see me becoming a regular at these meetings, bringing in MOUs where businesses want to lock in with us, because this is, again, I think it's going to become more the norm than the exception, where you're going to be learning, you're going to get the technical skills, and then you're also going to have a work-based learning component where you actually get paid while earning credit for it.
And I am a registered in-home provider, and so I know the EPI works with Child Care Resource and Referral, but I will say that this is so crucial because I am inundated with messages like, do you have openings? I mean, people need childcare desperately. So the fact that we have kids who want to do this and that they're going to get paid for it, the more that we can make that a big deal and exciting, the better.
I just want to clarify too, the Child Resource and Referral Center is actually under the umbrella of EPI.
Yes.
So that's why, just to make the
Yeah.
connection on that. So
They're
they
not
actually-
two separate
so
entities.
They're not two separate.
No.
They actually, so Mary's boss would be Chris Sparks, who's the director of
Correct.
EPI. So that's Mary Jansen. And so it's under, so if you actually go, I can't remember exactly, it's right, kind of in Cedar Lou area, there's a building, and it's actually the EPI Center.
It's
and
on
Child-
University right behind the McDonald's there.
There you go, thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, right there.
Kind of,
And so
I was going
it's-
to try
it's
to
actually
figure,
there.
Young, Plumbing, and
Right.
Godfather's, that mall area.
Used to
Strip
be
mall.
CVS.
Yes,
Oh,
The dairy
yes,
building.
it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any more comments or questions?
Fantastic work.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. This is
All right,
awesome.
thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
So all in favor of accepting the recommendation of the MOU between the Waterloo Schools and exceptional persons, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you very much. Now we will move on to item G on the agenda. And that item is, the superintendent's recommendation is the Board of Education approve the appointment of the 21-22 School Improvement Advisory Committee.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you very much. And do we have questions? I know we got an updated version from Stephanie today, so.
I was just asking if maybe Stephanie or Pam or Jane would like to kind of just explain what this is and, you know, talk about the updates.
I can talk a little, and then Pam and Jane can jump in if they need to. This is actually something the SIAC committee is something that's actually in legislation. I think I shut my mic off, yep. That's in legislation that we do every year. And there are certain activities that the SIAC committee is charged with doing. One of the biggest things is looking over our student achievement data and setting goals as a district where we want to go forward with that. And so we really we reach out to our principals to really try to get an inclusive committee. Sometimes it's tough. I will tell you that our attendance at SIAC committee meetings has increased exponentially since we've gone to doing them virtually. I mean, that has really, really helped. And that's one of those little things that we will continue because it has just helped so much. We have a lot more participation we've had since we've gone virtual. So I think that's something that we'll continue to do for quite a while, just so that we can always have everyone's input. And this includes, our committee includes staff members, parents, we have community members, we have administrators, we have some board members, so we really try to get a diverse committee each year.
And one student rep from each high school.
That's right, yep.
High school only.
Yep. Yep.
And I would just add too that this membership that we bring to you is where it stands right now, but we can always, I think darn near every month we brought back a new
We did.
revised. It was, you know,
We
so we can
did,
do that. I
yes.
know that Jody Baller, president of WA, had mentioned, hey, could we look at the representatives for staff and maybe add it to? Absolutely, we can do that. There is no, I mean, this is our committee and it really is designed to be effective for us. And I have pushed a little bit since I've been the superintendent. I will tell you that when I became the superintendent, we looked at this and buildings needed to have a rep, and so they could have a parent or a student, a staff. Well, what happened is just because it was a teeny bit easier to go to your staff member and say, hey, you want to do it, they would do that. And I think at one point in time, our committee might have been 90% staff and 10% parents. And so I kind of pushed back and I said, this year you have to have a parent. And I might have pushed a little too far, to be honest. I said, you have to get a parent. So then we had almost all parents and no staff.
Yep.
And so it's really designed to be. So I think, this is where it stands for today. So I would ask that you would approve it as where it is today. But that does not mean it can't be amended. It can be amended as soon as we determine that, we've had that many times. And so we'll see. Who knows, it might be back before you in 2 weeks or in a month. We'll go from there.
And so with the high school, so we can have a student from Expo then as well? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, actually, that's something I meant to put out here too. I have been working with Henry and Carrie, and there's 2 students and 2 parents that they have in mind. So we have a student and a parent, we just don't know which one it's going to be yet.
Thank you, Pam.
Perfect. Any other questions? I know that this committee I served on it when I was first on the board, and it's a very interesting, and I served actually previously before I was on the board as a parent, and topics are very pertinent, so thank you for all your work on that, and it is now for the vote. The superintendent's recommendation for approval is the Board of Education approve the appointments of the 21-22 School Improvement Committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carries 6-0. That brings us to the last consent agenda item, which is item H. And the recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the appointment of Jesse Knight to the Blackhawk County Conference Board.
So move.
Second.
And discussion.
My question had been that when, a few months ago, when Lyle was doing it, we had talked about it, and I had sat in for him in a meeting, and it was my understanding that that was what the plan had been, was that I was going to do that. So what happened?
I am not sure. I know Lyle had done it for quite a few years, and do we know how that came to Jesse? Do you know?
I don't know, somebody
Okay.
asked me, but.
I actually had forgotten about that. So, I mean, it can be amended on the floor here, and
I'm okay with
that's,
that.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
want,
it
that's
can
fine.
actually.
I just wondered, like, what,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I didn't do a good
Yeah.
job, I didn't know what happened.
No.
No, I think, we just want a rep to be there. That's what we want.
Right,
So,
and I do know
yeah.
Lyle is ready to hand the reins over, so that can actually be, you can just do a friendly amendment on
Okay.
that. That's where.
Okay, and that was Astor and
Astor
India.
and-
Do you
yes.
accept a friendly amendment?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, okay, so that would be to approve the appointment of Stacy Mills to the Blackhawk County Conference Board.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0.
Thank y'all.
Okay, now, yeah. You didn't want to do that? Come on, no. Okay, the next item is item I, and that is the Spring 2022 Concurrent Course Additions. The superintendent recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the concurrent course additions for the 21-22 spring semester.
So moved.
Oh, second.
Thank you, Jesse and India. And we have the infamous Sharice here to explain these changes to us.
I was the back hacker, I apologize. Ludens are not cutting it. Welcome, Happy New Year. Sue, welcome to your new position, and Janelle Ewing, congratulations, welcome to the board. I'll go ahead and read the quick background for you. The Waterloo Career Center will add 3 concurrent courses this spring, starting January 18th, so we're in a time crunch. 2 of the courses, Nutrition and Emergency Medical Responder, will be contracted with Hawkeye Community College. 1 of the courses, Applied Computer Security, will be contracted with Des Moines Area Community College. These courses will be added to the program of studies and the Hawkeye Community College contract agreement for the 2021-2022 academic year. And you can see the summary that will go into the program of studies. I'm the what, but if you want to know the why, Jeff is also here.
How does it work having DMAC?
Yes, I was going to ask the same question. And how many other courses do we have with DMAC?
And it's really no different. Our contract agreements, regardless of the community college, it's just that that's a course that Hawkeye hasn't created yet, but we have a pathway for those courses. So we also have a handful of Kirkwood ones. The contract agreement's the same. The percentage that we pay is the same. Supplemental weighting that we get is the same. It's just that they don't necessarily have that pathway fully created at Hawkeye Community College.
So who teaches it then?
Kyle Coolers.
Oh,
Big-
okay.
Yep.
One of ours, right?
In-house.
Yeah,
Okay.
Uh-huh.
it's just our course, it's our.
Oh, Jeff,
staff.
sneaking up on me.
So how many other courses do we have with DMAC?
What do we have? 4?
3 electrical. Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then this one.
So as you say that, and with the questioning, can you explain exactly how that works? That we contract with them to use their coursework material?
Right.
And we utilize our own teacher to utilize their coursework, and that's what we're paying for, their coursework?
Correct. So,
Okay.
and the credit. So we pay 20% the cost. On the back, you can see, I put down what the full tuition cost would be for each of those courses at those campuses. We pay 20% of that when it's on our campus with our staff. And then we end up getting a supplemental weighting from the state of Iowa to help recover that cost.
What does the asterisk mean, I'm sorry, behind the 2 costs, but not the DMAC one?
Oh, that was probably just something that transferred over from the program of
Oh, okay.
studies from, once it goes into our program of studies, it won't be in there.
Got ya.
But we actually take the same summaries that would come out of the campus because it's the same campus course. And then you can see where we create a SCED code that goes underneath it for the state, and that's where we get some funding. And then when we enroll students in those, we get the per pupil of $7,049 based on the amount of seat hours. So we get the percentage for enrolling the student, if it's our student, or if it's a non-public student. And then we get the supplemental weighting also from the state of Iowa to recover the cost for offering concurrent courses in high school.
What was the initial, I don't want to say reasoning with choosing these 3 courses? Did you see students wanting to take these courses at the WCC, or?
Yeah, I'll defer. There's a couple different reasons, but I'll let the why come from Jeff because he's the one that is really pushing this for the Career Center. Jeff?
The biggest reason for this, actually a couple things here. First of all, there's definitely a need in the cybersecurity realm. We actually are looking at creating 2 separate cohorts within Kyle's IT program. One track is going to probably be a cyber track, and then another track would be his IT web and mobile. So to get the cyber piece going, which is obviously a huge need area, we're starting with this introductory class, which only right now DMAC offers. Hawkeye's actually starting a cyber program for next year, so we probably will switch, actually we will switch back to Hawkeye when that becomes active. The other reason is because, for example, nutrition and the other ones here, the emergency EMR class, it's because what we've done is we're starting to kind of what I would say create cohort groups that come through, and it just made sense in the alignment of classes. If you have a cohort group coming through, to have these in place as part of the additional classes that they could take. They are across the board needed in the health careers area, and by adding these, especially the nutrition one, by adding that into it, it actually opens the door for many students in the health career area, besides the nurse's aid course where it kind of falls into naturally there. The other thing is actually we've been kind of negotiating back with Hawkeye Community College. We've been looking at courses that we offer and where they fall out into Hawkeye sequence. And we also are looking at kind of where our numbers are at and where classes kind of should be taken at in the sequence within a program there. What happened was when we first brought in these courses here, really when you bring in 5 new programs, and actually Dr. Lindemann could tell you this, we would sit there and it's kind of spitballing and you're trying to figure out a lot of stuff pretty quickly, because I think we started these meetings like in September to have them ready for an October program of study meeting. So sometimes the courses that were brought in maybe weren't right in sequence of what would be best for our students and for Hawkeye Community College. We actually had a couple cases where students potentially, if they started taking some of the courses that we had on the back end, they would actually kind of run into trouble with their full-time student status when they went out to the Hawkeye campus, which meant that they would run into trouble of getting last dollar scholar. So we're kind of negotiating and trading off, I would say, courses of what and where we're offering them right now with Hawkeye Community College. These are the first two that we're looking at. There might be some other ones that are coming down the road that we might back off a 400 level class and bring in an earlier entry level class for like what would typically be their freshman year instead of like the back end of their sophomore year or second year at Hawkeye Community College. Lots of moving parts in that world there.
No, nutrition is interesting because, I mean, it actually has some tie into the, at the major universities, the College of Agriculture, where your dietetics and your culinary stuff tend to kind of reside in that food grouping with ag colleges.
It's a liberal arts course. It's a biology credit.
Yeah.
So it's a liberal arts course. So we're seeing now, we used to kind of keep all the liberal arts courses for concurrent at the high schools. And now, as Jeff explained, trying to bundle some of those pathways to include some of those liberal arts courses out at the Career Center.
Yeah.
To blend, especially like when he talked about the sequencing. Hawkeye, you can only take like a certain semester, those courses, so we don't want a kid sitting idle waiting to take some courses, so balancing out that sequence a little more.
Yeah, no, culinary, we looking at Iowa State, culinary falls under their college agriculture, and I know that same way with, even Kentucky is ag, food, and something else, so that's interesting. You got your culinary students be able to have a nutrition element or something in there too, potentially, so.
I did want you to be made aware, and we can have a board meeting and talk more about concurrent, because, I eat, sleep, and breathe it. But we also have non-public students that take a lot of our courses, especially liberal arts courses. Sometimes they opt to take it at Hawkeye or online versus at our location. We then do pay 100% that cost. However, then we're not paying for the staffing, the facility, the books.
Yeah.
And we still do receive supplemental weighting and 0.1 per pupil cost during that seat time.
And I was wondering, as far as the program with DMAC, this computers, because the cyber, so if a student takes it this semester and Hawkeye doesn't have the program, so let's say they're a senior and then they go to Hawkeye for cyber, would that credit count if they adopt a program?
If they adopt the program, yes. And that's
they are adopting the program.
Okay.
Fall of 2022.
Perfect. Thank you.
Jeff, I have a quick question about the EMR.
Yeah.
Yes. 2-year program or 2-credit course entry level, but you must be 17 to register. Just kind of explain why that is.
So what has happened is we started our emergency management program, and students that go into the EMT field and want to get into EMT, we have 3 upper level courses that are already offered at the Career Center. That's EMT 1, EMT 2, and then EMT 3, which is actually their clinical where they ride along for emergency scenes. What happened is you needed to be 18 to get into those courses. So we have taken on this EMR course, Emergency Management Emergency Medical Responder course. So and again, you're going to hear me talk a lot about cohort courses. So the idea is to start a student second semester of their junior year in EMR, and then what they would do is they would actually come back their senior year in the fall and take EMT 363, which is Emergency Management 1, Emergency Management Technician 1, and then in the fall, or in the spring of the next year, of their senior year, they would take EMT 2 along with their clinical class. And then what happens is they would go out to Hawkeye after that, if they chose to go there. They would have a 100-hour experience during that summer, and literally then what it does is it gets them to where they would actually complete their EMT with 1 year at Hawkeye Community College. So by setting this cohort cycle up like this, we actually can get students in before they're seniors and recognize what that field's like and kind of lay out a cohort or a cycle for them to take over the next 3 semesters. Excuse me, too. I am battling just Actually, I'm over it, just so you know, I'm safe and clear, but last week I had some crud and it's kind of messing with me in my voice right now. A bad voice is even worse right now, so.
Jeff, it says, you know, to be certified to work as an EMR. Is that a standalone position then? Is that taking this course, is there anything you can do just with that course or no?
Great question. So going through our 4 sequence of courses, EMR, EMT 1, 2, and 3,
Right.
you basically can never be the lead at a scene of an accident or an emergency. After the third EMT 3, when they would walk out here as a senior second semester, at that point, when they pass that course, they then would have the ability to be a lead on a scene. Okay. So what they're doing is they're basically responders and helping with accidents. And as I said, the last course in the sequence is really the one where they actually go out for a clinical, riding around with emergency members, typically an ambulance crew, and responding to emergencies.
So this is on its own. I mean, you're certified, it says to work as an EMR, but there's really not, that's not like a position you can go get,
Not at that point, no.
Got you, okay.
You can be part of a, for example, a lot of, the way I was told this, a lot of small towns have people that get their EMR endorsement because then they can go out and actually have, be part of the crew that responds to emergencies, but you still need a lead at the scene of an emergency.
Yeah,
This allows people, students to actually participate and help in an active emergency management scene.
I have a lot of family members who are volunteer, like firefighter, and I don't think not all of them have like the lead EMT, so maybe this is more like what you're talking about, that they.
Correct.
Right?
If they have the ability to go out and work on an emergency scene, as long as there's a lead there, they can absolutely be part of that scene because they would have enough of the background to be part of that.
So this is theoretically something that you could use?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's actually, honestly, from the way we've been told, it's actually a great course for anybody to have in general, just because it's such a life saving, the ability to come across anything, as anything can happen at any time, and you come across an emergency, that you would actually have so much, you'd have more training than obviously just somebody that hasn't taken the course.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions? Obviously, I think we're all very excited about these 3 ads, Sharice and Jeff.
Yes.
So all in favor of approving the concurrent course additions for the 21-22 spring semester, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you,
Thank you
board.
both very, very much.
Passes me the cough drop after I'm finished.
Yeah.
Got it sitting out. The kids are already enrolled. We'll appreciate this. Thank you.
You. Okay, now that brings us to item J on page 38 of your packet. And this is the board policy. And let me pull it up. This is the second reading. And there's a variety of policies here. 200.3 school board powers and duties, 206 board officers, 504.3 student conduct code, 506.5 law enforcement student contact, 506.51 interviews of students by outside agencies, 506.6 student fines, fees, and charges, 706.3 student transportation, and 706.4 student conduct on school transportation. So the superintendent's recommendation is that the board approve the following policies that I just stated.
So moved?
And a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. And we have Aqua here for discussion. Thank you.
I suppose, I mean, there might not be any reason for discussion. This was the second read, and they were reviewed by both DLT and the Policy Review Committee that's been just doing a fantastic job so far with really thorough discussion. So I think at this point, if it's with all 8 of those, they've been, through their second reading, I think we're good to go if there are no other questions.
Does anyone have questions as far as?
I have no questions about this. I just wanted to take a second to talk about Policy Review Committee, because I don't think people, when like Aqua comes up, I don't know if like people watching know what goes into it. So Aqua, do you want to give a rundown of who is on the committee right now?
Oh my gosh. Oh
Well,
my gosh.
I mean, I have the list if you don't want to do it, but.
Well, go ahead, because I would need to have it in front of me.
Okay. So
There's so many.
So Aqua is like our head. She heads that up. And then Sandy Lanigan, she comes and does like all of the keeping track of what changes there are and everything, correct? And so then there's Sherry Wright, Bev Bovia, Sarah Cavalier, and then 3 board members. Am I missing anyone? Does that sound right?
It feels like there are more. Well, it depends on the.
I can't think.
Usually there's a list of about 12 people.
Well, people come in to talk about their policies that they want changed, but, I mean, this is like the committee that makes.
Sure.
So I just wanted people to, okay, because, you know, at the last meeting, we kind of gotten into the weeds a little bit about it, but that, like, the meetings are not paid. These people don't get any compensation. And they, you know, often, like, Sarah stayed after work at our last one, and what time did we get done on Thursday?
Oh, gosh, maybe 6:30? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it went on.
Yeah.
And people come in with doing all this work beforehand. You know, we're given the list, or given the information that will be on there in the agenda. People come in, they do all this work ahead of time, and we discuss it, and there's all this expertise that gets brought into it. And I just wanted to thank the people who do this, because it is a huge commitment, and it is never, we don't have a chance to like celebrate it very often. And so I enjoy being on that committee, obviously, but seeing that there's people who've been doing this for this long and what they put into it, I wanted to recognize that and to thank Akwe for stepping into such a big position and doing it very well. So.
Sure. Yes, it's always really productive and very thorough conversations, and it like you say, it's a lot of hard work, but important work, as everybody else is doing in the district too. So thank you. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Akwe? Okay. All right, well then, I ask for the motion of approval for the board to the 8 policies. Do I need to read them again? No, okay. Yep, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That will carry 6-0. Thank you very much. And our item K was removed, so for discussion later. So we're on to our non-agenda item, or non-voting items, action for Dr. Lindeman's superintendent report.
All right, thank you. So I've just got a couple things, and then I'm actually going to yield a little bit of time to Kingsley Botchway. He's going to take us through a couple things about the status of COVID and just a couple things that we're working on behind the scenes. But I just wanted to follow up a little bit on the paid internship that we talked about tonight with EPI. And this is just maybe a learning, I actually wrote a note. I think sometime it might be good to talk, maybe it doesn't have to be now, but to do a board workshop on what we're doing around the work-based learning experiences. We have a lot of things in the work, but we have a document that I'll try to include it in our update, but it kind of defines the continuum of work-based learning that we have for students offering. So it starts really as easy as like a job shadow. So we have a student who might go out for an hour or two, or maybe a day. I mean, it could be whatever, but job shadowing where they're just watching. And then maybe the next level is, perhaps a paid internship after they take a particular course and they get credit at the same time. So that's why I tried to make sure I highlighted that they get credit, they get paid, and then they get just-in-time, relevant, timely feedback along the way, which is super valuable as they're working in a child care facility, and we have teachers who are watching them, and we have the workers who are watching them, and so just really getting some good feedback there. Then after that, it moves to the next level is really that quality pre-apprenticeship, which we've talked about before. And then, maybe the highest level that we currently offer is really that registered apprenticeship that we've talked about, that we have in multiple career pathways. And so I feel like Waterloo Schools is, we're a little bit larger district, and so we have more opportunities to offer a continuum of work-based learning experience. And so I think that's really great. It's probably something that we need to sing and sell just a little bit more even than we do, because it really is students can go a long way in Waterloo schools as far as getting payment, but also getting really authentic experiences. And we actually have some really exciting things in the work, 2 specific things. I just had a meeting on them last week to talk about some additional things that we would add into that continuum of work-based learning experience, and we'll share that at a different time. I'm not really prepared tonight to kind of go into that, but I thought maybe it would be helpful to say, you know, this paid internship that we talk about is really kind of that second level, but there's a third level and a fourth level, so really some great things going on as far as kids getting actual, you know, young adults getting really actual experiences. So the January 14th, I wanted to just make a comment on that. We talked about it earlier, so I was going to do it here, but I'm still going to just say a couple comments about it. So we are, you know, we've really tried to work with our staff and have conversations. That January 14th really is coming out of listening to our staff and listening to the needs and listening to where they are, not only, you know, work-wise, but also mentally. You know, it's been a drain. It's been a strain and a drain over the past year. And you know, I know some people think, well, what's different? It's just different. It feels different. And so January 14th, allowing some employee groups to exercise some work from home options or some flexible location. We don't, you know, they may get together at each other's house to really dig into some of the, you know, first grade group might choose to work together. Wherever they need to do that or wherever they want to do that seems like the right thing to do. So we were excited about that. I will tell, you know, the public, we really weighed that very carefully. I think Kingsley and Stephanie and I worked for a long time really on that, looking at the pros and the cons of that. You mentioned some of the pros of it, you know, trusting and providing just maybe a little breathing room and a little bit of space. We also are looking at, you know, we had some professional development that we've had to put on a back burner because we're doing so. We believed it was the right thing to do, but we do know that we've got a few things that we're going to need to try to make up. So it isn't just a clear path to do that, but we knew it was the right thing to do. We knew when we prioritized the good and what we'd have to compensate for at some point in time, we knew it was the right thing to do. So that was just my comment about January 14th. I think we actually have a survey, I believe, tomorrow that's going out, or maybe it's the next day, Thursday, to our staff, asking them to just fill in some information and just to provide us their thoughts at this point in time. And then we'll also have another survey that we're going to back it up with, I believe, on Monday, kind of a pre-January 14th and a post-January 14th, mostly so we can gather some data. If there's a possibility of ever doing something like this again, it would be good to get some feedback from the staff. And I know Jody and her team and Amber and the different employee groups, I think they have been very supportive of talking to their membership and saying, you know, make sure that you fill out the survey, make sure that you know, really give feedback, because it's truly a collaborative effort. So I think it's totally the right way to go, and we're just going to monitor it closely and really, you know, glean the best pieces of it. The policy pause, I just wanted to comment on the COVID vaccination policy, and then I'll turn it over to you, Kingsley, so you can get ready for that. But the policy that we talked about had been through policy review on Thursday night, and I wasn't at that policy, but I was actually in my office listening to a little bit of it happening because Pam had it up. I think that policy is really ready to go, and we are just going to wait. We thought about tonight to maybe bring it forward and try to approve it and then immediately suspend it. That was another option that the legal teams gave school districts in Iowa. They said, you know, if you could either just table it or postpone it or just hold on it, or you could go ahead and pass it and then immediately suspend it. We had lots of conversations. Matter of fact, I talked with many of you today about that, and we just felt like to pass it and then suspend it could be confusing. So we're just holding on that. It would have actually had the same effect as what, you know, not moving forward with it. Either way, it wouldn't have gone into effect, but we're just watching that very closely. There's some not legislation, but there's some decisions at the court system that are, you know, we're just waiting for. So we will spring into action. I want to make it clear, it is possible that if we get word, I mean, let's say tomorrow morning, we get word that it is in action, we will be calling you back together to move forward on that. So we're just, you know, we're ready to go. The good part is the policy is ready. We'll bring it forward when we need to, if we need to, but we are just waiting to see what happens, and, you know, we're just on pause with that. Last thing, we've been having a lot of conversations about the state of COVID in our district and in our county and in the state of Iowa, and actually even in our nation. And so we've been having a series of meetings to really talk about, you know, where we are, what's the response needed. this is one of those things that you kind of hope that it's going to go away at some point in time, that we don't have to keep talking about what is our response, what are we going to do, what, what's the state of the district right now. But, as you've been watching numbers, you see where we are at the county, and, we're not exactly sure what that means in comparison to others. But Kingsley, from his lens and his role, has been really taking a lead role in facilitating conversations. So, Kingsley, can you just talk a little bit about where we are and how's staffing going, and what kind of, I know you sleep until 9 because there's nothing to do in the morning and nobody calls you, and talk a little bit about what's going on.
Well, first and foremost, I just want to give a lot of credit to not only this admin team and the board, but also to my team and Marla's team. I think that from a staffing standpoint, we really focus on the staff part. Marla focuses on the student part, but there's many times where we're collaborating on both ends, trying to figure out how we make sure that the communication is given to not only students, staff, but also parents in the community as well. So one of the things I just want the board to know and the public to know, we have a really solid process. That's a process that we've shared with other districts as well, just because, and as you've seen the shift and the surveys and things along those lines, it really, as Jane mentioned, and she was joking, it really provides us with a lot of information during the morning time so we can cover appropriately. And that's what we're trying to make sure that we do. We want to keep schools open, but we want to make sure that learning's happening as well. And so you may see myself and Marla, and obviously whatever's happening at the building as well, running around like a chicken, just to make sure that we get our staffing covered for the rest of the day to be successful. And there's certain days that are more challenging than others, but again, kudos to our staff in their buildings to make sure that's happening and happening at a rate that we can still be successful. The other thing that we are trying to move towards, and Dr. Lindeman alluded to this as well, the numbers. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and hide. I mean, we're at 39% today from a COVID positivity rate. And Dr. Lindeman's right. That's based on, how many people are testing. We know there's individuals that aren't testing. We also know that the flu has really become a significant factor in this as well. And so, and there was recently, because of our work with Blackhawk County, there's a bug just going around, stomach issues. And so there's really like 3 different illnesses happening and impacting our staff at a problematic rate. And with that, we're working with the city, working with Blackhawk County as well, to really look at some either new strategies or some of the strategies that we implemented. I think we talked a little bit at the board table last year about the phase structure and what that looks like at each of the buildings, depending on where they were at. But we're really looking at something district-wide, in a sense, to press pause. I know it's going to be tough to do because I think much of the community has shifted to, COVID being ever apparent and kind of living through it. But it does impact our day-to-day operations. And, we are growing ever more concerned that, the challenge of keeping school open is going to be tough. And obviously we know as an important governmental body, but also an important business and service that we provide to our community, we do not want that to happen, because we know that other businesses and other people in the community are still going to have to work and have to face those challenges. And so we're trying our best, but we are collaborating and working with anyone and everyone that has the medical expertise and the knowledge and the know-how to really try to figure out how we can, again, use some of those new and old strategies to figure out what we can do. I think there's no question that the holidays impacted us. I think that many people got together with families, got together with friends, both during Christmas and probably during New Year's and during Kwanzaa, whatever holidays that individuals celebrated, that impacted our numbers. And so while this is a trying time, Dr. Lindeman asked me the question today, where are we at? We are in a stressed time. I don't want to lie about that. But we're working hard, and we're working collaboratively and diligently together to make sure that, again, not only that we can keep school open, but education can happen at a high level. And that's, I can go into another conversation about some of the data that we've looked at both nationwide and in our district about how our teachers and our staff have been more resilient than others across the nation. I mean, it's amazing how well our staff have pivoted, have shifted, have stepped up at a time where even some districts across the nation haven't really gone back to in person. But we know, based on our population and based on the needs of our community, in person is the right way to go to ensure that that gap of learning can continue. And so, again, want to give that credit. But, as I close, one of the things I always want to make sure that people know, patience and grace throughout this process is definitely required. I know that Sarah Lee at the front desk, I know that Marla, I know that Dr. Lindemann, I know that Pam, I mean, everybody at this table has gotten some type of questions. I know the frustration level is high. We're trying our best to make sure that we give the most accurate information possible, but it's tough because as you could hear from the policy changes that we're doing at the board table, or you can see from the CDC changes that are happening regardless of the different type of variants, we as a nation, we as a school district are doing our best to try to balance the competing ideologies, but also just the changes that we see on a regular basis in regards to COVID-19 and other things that are still happening and are still important when they're affecting our students and our staff. So we will continue to do everything possible to stay in school, because I think and Dr. Lindemann shared this last year, and I think she shared this a number of times. I think what people have to understand, COVID-19 is a ever apparent threat and danger to our way of life and how we're living through that. But I think some of the challenges that happened during the closure around the suicide rate jumping or spiking, not having the social connection, not having the in-person learning, those may not seem as immediate. Suicide may be a little bit different, but those may not seem as immediate challenges that you may think about in relation to COVID-19, but we're still feeling the reverberations of that now, and the need for additional SEL and additional focus on instruction from that standpoint. So again, while there's an ever-apparent need, there's also the need that is still something that we need to pay attention to. And so, again, thank you for the patience and the grace, not only for the community, but the board as well has been tremendous in how you've helped us navigate this as well. And that's it for right now.
And that, Kingston, that 39% is the county level, not necessarily our district level.
Yeah, I apologize. I forgot to mention that, so thank you. One of the things that we do, and we do this on a daily basis, and I wanted to also just briefly mention the time and effort that's put into this. It's on top of everything else that we're doing. We are still low. I know there's some calls for consternation or concern as far as well, that doesn't seem right. We spend a lot of time making sure that data is right, and I want to make sure that people also know that myself and Marla get daily emails now from Blackhawk Public Health that reshare the information about who may be positive or who may be exposed. It takes hours. I mean, it's important because it provides us with the most accurate information. But my point around that is, while the 39% is the community, and again, it's related to the individuals that are testing, it does not speak to the number in our schools. And so, if we were at 39% in our schools, we would be having a totally different conversation at the table. I mean, I just want to be frank with you, and I think sometimes people may believe that we're trying to, not be as transparent as possible. The information is the information. I think, again, while we are relying on parents and our staff to, provide that information, our staff aren't lying to us. Our parents aren't lying to us. They're doing our best to keep us open, but it is different data.
But we have to also be realistic that kids are not as symptomatic as adults.
True.
So I'm not saying that it's at 39%, but it's a little more ambiguous when we're talking about kids.
I definitely agree, and that's why we spend so much time with the data that we have, looking into that information and making sure. That's why we have the test kits. That's something that I had mentioned as well. We have an agreement with Blackhawk County that we have test kits at the building, and also we use here at the ESC for our staff, that if you want to get tested, regardless if you're symptomatic or then exposed, because I think that may be also what you're mentioning as well. You may be exposed, but then become asymptomatic and don't know. You have those test kits, and we let our principals and administrators know of using those in those situations where families may not have access to fast and reliable testing. So if they can't drive to the location, whatever the case may be, we do have test kits in our buildings that we're providing to families and staff at the ESC to help with that as well. And so, but going back to my point around the numbers again, as Stacy mentioned as well, while the numbers may hide or shield some of that asymptomatic people that we have in our district, we do still feel comfortable of the rate in the community isn't the same as the rate in our school buildings. And we'll continue to, again, that's why we're implementing some of those phase 2 pieces to make sure that we're putting additional measures in place.
Thank you, Kingsley. I just wanted to yield some of the time, and I wasn't trying to, I'm definitely not opening up the dialogue right now and saying, hey, let's, discuss this for the next hour. But I did think it was good, not only for the board to have that conversation, but also, the listeners who might be watching or will watch it later, or the media may pick up on that too. Our goal has always been to make sure that in-person learning can continue, and we are working very diligently to make sure that happens. Kingsley's leading really all of the staff pieces, but Marla's leading all of the student pieces for students who are, the records that we're keeping. But it's not just the two of them. You look at Marty leading the cleaning process. We look at, Michael leading the funding process for everything that goes. Stephanie has had to really rethink with her team how we do things differently during COVID. So really, every single person is processing through that. So we want to stay open. We want to, we appreciate parents working with us. We do appreciate people. Marla was saying that just today that people are really good about calling and self-reporting, and then she does check it with Blackhawk County, so she matches her records, and she keeps meticulous records and spreadsheets, and quite extensive ones. But we're making our way. Kingsley, just for fun, what's the earliest you've been called in the morning to have a staff member ask questions about reporting?
It's kudos to our staff. They call as early as 3:30.
Yeah,
sometimes.
He told me somebody called him at 3:30 in the morning, and I thought, that's a diligent staff member. They're worried, they're worried. And he was like, they could have waited another half an hour, but they are, by 4 o'clock, he is getting phone calls. At 4:30, he's getting phone calls. And so, and honestly, he springs into action and says, okay, let's make sure we're covered. And so the team that's doing that, and honestly, you shouldn't even mention names, because then you forget somebody, but the principals who are moving people around, and, and the people who are willing to be moved around and doing it willingly. My goodness, it's taking really a lot, but we're doing it because it's the right thing to do, and we really want kids to be able to learn. So I'm going to end my comments there.
Okay, thank you. Tonight, we will start with Stacy.
I don't have a whole lot. I wanted to thank Jane for the day when the buses decided that they weren't going to work correctly, and I know that was probably like one of the hardest decisions that you've ever had to make, but I think it was absolutely the right one to make. And I hope that everybody out there was able to get their kids back where they needed to be. And I know that it was it was probably very difficult for a lot of people, but it was the only safe option. So thank you for doing that, as stressful as I know it was for you. I also would like to just encourage our students and staff to be masking, simply because I know that the numbers are higher, and it's all we have right now to really try to control the spread. And I know there's people who choose not to, and that's fine. But if you have them and you are comfortable wearing them, please do so. So thank you.
Jesse?
All right, well, I had 2 items, and they're kind of semi-related, a little bit. Just got announced late, so probably not on a lot of people. Thursday is the East-West Wrestling Meet at West High, but more importantly, they will be honoring former coach Don Huff, who's being nominated into the Elite Coaches Hall of Fame at West High. So he'll be there. It'll be at 7 o'clock. They'll have that going on. So probably see a few alumni coming in. Hopefully we're going to try to put together a little reception, but that is going to be Thursday night. So, Coach Huff was our last head coach to have a state championship, and been, since I've been around wrestling in this area, he's at about every wrestling meet in there, and really just a link to what our past there. So anyway, that's going on. That was announced today. So it's at West. Yep. The ceremony can be around 7. JV starts at 6:15. Varsity around 7ish. So in between JV and varsity. So anyway, that was a big deal. Honoring that. I don't think they've had any coaches into that area of the Hall of Fames that have been here. So. The other one, I just want, it's more of a personal, I want to offer my personal condolence to the Rhonda Vardy family as well. On always passing on, he was both Rhonda Vardys have been volunteers in our district, teachers in our district for a long time, coaches in our district, and as I got the chance to meet Ollie when my son started wrestling in kindergarten, and his son wrestled in kindergarten, and had known him for years, and just really sad on that, and I know he'll be missed, and his family will be missed. We'll miss him as well. So my personal condolence to the Rhonda Vardy family. So
Thank you, Jesse. India?
I'm just going to request to go after Janelle, please. Thanks.
Aster?
Just two quick things. First, to Amber, we truly appreciate you sitting in on the board meetings. Like somebody said, we've seen you quite often, and we hear you. We hear you. We definitely hear you. So just know that we hear you and your concerns. So thank you for that. And also, just a quick note on the weather. It's supposed to get extremely warm under Iowa conditions the next couple of days. So just parents and students, don't let your guards down. We sit and talk about COVID and other things like that, but it's there's other bugs going around as well. So weather does play a part in some of that. So let's not let our guard down and think we're in Florida or anywhere like that. So continue to bundle up and just protect yourself and take care of your bodies. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Janelle?
Tonight, I'd like to say thank you to all of the teachers and the paras and everybody that spends time with students, creating structure in their lives and giving them the tools that they are going to need to be productive adults. Thank you for giving kids lots of chances. Thank you for leading with love. Thank you for everything that you've done throughout this pandemic. We really appreciate you. We really appreciate the work that you do. And we really appreciate you carrying our students into adulthood. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Definitely. So I'm going to switch hats just briefly because as a parent and a community leader. So if I have to get the red card and yellow card, Pam, go ahead and do that. I just want to briefly express my concern on the event on December 21st, which was the Waterloo East game and the Dubuque-Wallard game for the girls basketball team. So there was a complaint, if someone doesn't know, regarding racist comments that were yelled during the game in Dubuque. It was investigated, it was documented, it was addressed to letters to the teams, the families. There was a statement in the Courier, and we stated we do not tolerate any form of discrimination and have swiftly act to address on behalf of the Waterloo schools. My concern is that I was not going to say anything or comment, but the turnaround time for Dubuque-Wallard was in 2 days, like December 23rd, they investigated and they said nothing happened. But when I read the comments in the social post, it was numbing in the sense of people were sharing their stories about their experiences in Dubuque. 1982 football playoff game, police escorts, 1995, 2008, 2009, 2012, 2017, February 2021. We are having the same stories, generation trauma. We gotta stop. We have 40 years of allowing students of color to be subjected to this type of treatment, and we're not doing anything. So I'm asking that we really take a look and stop putting the Band-Aid on a festering wound that's been happening so long. When I talked to Mr. Williams about this, I was like, I do not want your son, age 5, to have the same conversation that you're gonna have to have that you had this experience with. And this is exactly what is happening. So we have an upcoming game, February 2022 with Dubuque again, with Waterloo West. And as we know, Waterloo East will not be playing with Dubuque because they're in a different conference. But we have another school in our district who will continue to play. And we need to really look at how they're going to play. One thing that COVID has taught us is that we do not need to have spectators. We can pivot and do something different. So I'm gonna challenge our district, Dubuque's district, our athletic directors to actually take a look at this situation, because I did not sign up as a board member to graduate our students with a diploma and trauma of some situation that they had at a student event. And that's exactly what we continue to do when they have these conversations as grandparents, parents to their student about situations when they leave here. So we talk about safe spaces. Does that also include when they leave here? When they go to another district and play on these courts? And I don't think we're doing that enough. Because if we're having 40 years of conversation, I can't tolerate that. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, India. And obviously, we can have the district look at options that would be available for the further game and just to take a closer look at what the investigation, I never actually heard what the entire investigation came out, so, but I appreciate your heartfelt words, India. And I did also want to thank Amber. I believe that paras are one of the key people in kids' lives, you know, so thank you for your job and what you're doing. Also regarding the committees, I will take some fault with that. I've been out of the area for a while, and Pam and I have not got together on the committee assignments. But if there are specific committees that you would like to be on, let us know. There's some spots, and there's some that I'm sure willing to move if that would be the way would be best for the board. So Pam and I will get together on that, so that is not her full responsibility. And I also wanted just exciting things at Lowell. Yeah. Exciting things at Lowell. I mean, the kids, I think, are just really, really super. I think staff is all happy at being in the new Lowell. So just thanks for everyone that made that move good. And the kids, I think we really did our students well for the patience that they have endured with Lowell. And along the lines of patience, I just want to thank you all for having patience with me, because I am still learning the process, and I'm starting to experience a little tiredness tonight. So last night I was in Africa, and tonight I'm here. So here we go. So with that said, if there are no more comments, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Vote.
Aye.
We have to vote.